Okay, welcome to the Town of Dayton Solid Waste Advisory Committee. At 979 Somerset Avenue, Dayton, Mass. 02715. This is a regular meeting scheduled Monday, October 22nd, 2024 at 3 o'clock p.m. At 1111 Somerset Avenue, Dayton, Mass. 02715. Sorry about the wrong address. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Can we have a call to order, please? Ferry.
I'm Mike Mullen.
Peter Karen. Papa Robert. Here you go.
James Aguirre.
Robert Perry.
Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Just have a friend housekeeping the Board of Health, should also call the meeting.
I was just about to say that.
Board of Health called on. Present. Oh, she got that.
Great, thank you, guys. Jim, you'll make the motion?
I would, there's a couple people here who need to leave, at 4 or 4:4, so, Mr. Chairman, if you would entertain taking item 4, new business A out of order. We discussed an act solid waste fee structure and apology.
Absolutely. Is there a second on the floor? Second. Well, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. This is new business. Review, discuss, and act solid waste fee structure and methodology.
Yes, so this is a follow to a meeting 2 weeks ago now. We met internally, we met internally and to fund the curbside trash and recycling, at the currently projected FY25 cost of $449,800. I can adding into that a total of $12,500 for billing and postage for actually having a biannual billing process. And then I can then adding in revenue to find what we have seen. We haven't yet seen it yet in FY24, but we saw it in the latter part of FY22. And well, the entire FY23 is a $25,000 fuel escalator as well that we want to make sure is built in to the revenue as well, because we don't have any what also we're reading in the news right now about fuel actually increasing even before the end of FY24, into FY25 as well. We want to make sure that cost is included in there too. So we do have a total cost of almost $500,000 that just deal with the cost of fulfilling the board's contract for just the curbside trash and recycling alone. We also, based on our most recent retract report, we had just over 2,900 households that participate in the curbside pickup program. So from that, we have about, as I mentioned, $500,000 of costs that we currently don't have. We don't currently have a way to fund other than through the traditional general budget expenditures portion of our operating budget. And as we've talked about in prior meetings, having this cost that is where our revenues don't even come close to funding the entire solid waste program, it gave rise to talking about the concept of having a solid waste type of fee which is actually very prevalent in other communities at this point. So, we wanted to propose, actually, there's a type of a total of 5 different options, for the solid waste committee, and then the Board of Health to be able to consider. The first option is if we split, basically divided the $587,000 divided by the $2,900 households, and that would to produce the revenue, that would meet the obligations, that would turn out equal up to a household cost for everybody of $167 annually. Then we wanted to entertain an option where we had a $200 per year fee structure for non-seniors, and then $100 a year fee structure for seniors 70 and older. And if our groups were to consider that structure, we would have an annual revenue just over $510,000. Like option 3 is if they can just actually backing up base the 70 and older, is based on census information, like as is, but then we wanted to actually see based on census data what would happen if we drop down the age 70 and older to age 65 and older, and the census of those residents went up by the census of those households went up by just over 300 households, which is a significant increase. But we saw to do the same type of split in terms of the 200 and 100, we'd be able to bring in just actually shy of about $8,000-ish of what our total just the curbside trash pickup and recycling cost out. Obviously, this doesn't get into the shipping fee and what we have to what we'll just have to pay to dispose of it. This would just fund the present contract that we have now with Borders. And then, in terms of, we also wanted to do a break-even analysis to just by the way we started, if we wanted to have a 65 plus discount, and then a $200 per year non-senior fee, to just bring in the revenue to fund the expenses, we would basically have almost like a $92 a year discount for 65 plus seniors. But then again, based on the census information, if we were to try to do that in terms of break even and keep to a ceiling of $200 per year for our non-seniors, just based on the 70 plus census, that would be just shy of a $50 per year discount for the 70 plus seniors. And again, there were a variety of ways that we could approach this. Just in terms of our research, there are some towns who do a $10 per quarter discount. There are other towns that do a 40% discount. And we wanted to really keep to the genesis in terms of our revenue. What we were what we already defined is what we were trying to fund. So I just wanted to actually jump out and provide an overview of all those options, really for discussion. So with that, let's open it to them, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Well, we have the Board of Health. I know you just digested these numbers for the first time. Do you guys have any opinions?
A couple of questions. We're talking about flat fees that are paid out of the taxpayers, right?
Basically, yes. Right
I
now,
missed the question.
so just, I think what Paul's saying in a roundabout way is right now, our curbside pickup program is paid for through bag sales and through the taxes.
Correct.
Yes, that is correct.
And this is gonna change to be per household, instead of including the taxes.
Yeah.
Every household, whether they use it or not,
Right,
No.
This model shows that, yes.
Yeah, we'd have to have an opt-out program though for households who don't want to participate.
Right.
And so as those who participate, as those who don't want to participate go down, so too will our costs.
Right, so, obviously, this is still in discussion phase, but the theory is that everyone would receive a bill. And then those who would want to opt out would have an opt-out procedure that the Board of Health would set in place. We have to come up with a very specific procedure. If you qualify for an opt-out, then you would not have to pay that fee.
you know, what would be a qualification, either you want to or you don't?
Well, no, you have to prove that your trash is going somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So you have to prove to the Board of Health that you have contract with a private company.
Yeah.
You have to provide that contract because we, as the Board of Health, are required to find out where's your trash going.
Contract for current bills.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Myself, I get billed per month,
Yeah,
I don't have a written contract.
right, yeah. The town needs to know. the board
Right, where
needs to
it's
know
going.
Where the trash
No,
is.
that's understandable.
We just don't want to be going out back in the,
No.
being incinerated, you know?
And the house will be picking it up.
Right. So that's a good point, Mike, because this model that you show doesn't factor in any loss from the 2911 if there were opt-outs, correct? Any potential revenue losses?
No, but because the 2911, that's based on what we do currently, right, in terms of repair?
It is, but this may force people to try to opt out. There may be a loss factor.
Okay.
People may say, I'm gonna privatize, right? So this is provided everyone who's currently getting curbside stays with curbside if this fee is implemented.
Yeah, and just really how this revenue would be structured, Jim and Chico, is that like is based on the structure that this would be proposed within, we would still have our trash pickup program under the general operating budget. We would also, but just within our general operating budget, we would have a revenue line that would basically seek to match the expenses of what we, because of what at least would match the $487,300, but everything would basically become a wash.
Okay.
Question. Maybe it's my interpretation, a misinterpretation of the options, but I look at them as leveling the playing field. This is a cost for every household that opts in these options. Is that correct? Okay. In other words, everybody in this room, if we opt in, we selected option 2 for the sake of argument. And we're all not seniors, even though it's not the truth. Option 2, each of us would pay $200. Is that correct?
Yes.
But the playing field isn't level. You may throw more than me.
Yeah, and that is,
Right.
and that is on the other side of the equation, what would be the great equalizer, if you will, like is that we would still have the pay-as-you-go program. So we would have everything even on the pickup.
Okay.
But in terms of to actually dispose of what is being picked up, that's where the pay-as-you-throw.
Okay, I didn't see
Yes.
that in here, so I want to be sure that, here again, it's leveling the playing field on one side of the equation is fine, but it's not level. We have to recognize that on the other side.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
You generate more trash, you buy more bags.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
So it's gonna go for bag sales.
Exactly. And the theory behind this is that, we've got two sides of curbside pickup. We have the contractual side, which in simplest terms gets the truck to drive by your house and make a stop.
Yeah.
and then we have the disposal side. So the theory is that if we look at these two as A and B, so to speak, this is what it takes to get the truck out of your house, the stuff. And then the bag sales is what it costs to dispose of the rubbish or the recycling. And right now, at our current bag prices, I think we're pretty close to being able to keep bag prices the same as they are right now, with the fee implementation. And all of our dialogue with the state through Missy Hollenbach is that the state is not in favor of getting rid of pay as you throw, because we've had all kinds of ideas here.
Right.
Can we put bins? What can we do? And the state has said that if you abolish pay as you throw, where people buy the bags, trash rates and tonnage goes up. So by keeping the pay as you throw program in check, Dayton has the ability to still qualify for grants, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, overall, for the environment, we're keeping our trash tonnage down. So that's why we kind of use all that information to come up with what's the best way to pay for this program. Because frankly, it hasn't been paid for many, many, many years. It's been subsidized by the taxes.
So, yeah, so this for 87,300 with the $25,000 fuel escalator, that's not predicted if we're gonna need it or not quite yet. So the 487 is strictly just trash pickup. We're still, currently we sell the bags offset it, but the remaining money comes from the town general budget. So this would cover, so the 510 in option 2 that we're talking about, the 510, that's just for trash pickup. That doesn't, so if we sell, the bag sales component have no effect on this figure at all.
No. And right now, currently with the bag sale projections, we're pretty close, like within a few $1,000s of covering the disposal costs with just bag sales.
Okay.
And why I say that way cautiously is that if this all works out, we need to get this program out for a year, see what the revenues are, and then revisit it. But the nice thing about doing it this way is if rubbish disposal is not being paid for through bag sales, either through price increases or through tonnage amounts, we can adjust the bag price and still have the cost of the contractor, curbside pickup, separate.
Right.
Right now, to try and balance the budget with just bag sales, you'd be paying $7,000 or $8,000.
Yeah, growing that one.
It just can't be done.
No, it's not sustainable. I mean, there needs to be some kind of fee associated with it.
Right.
I just fear that if we pick an option that's close to what our cutoff number is, and we lose 10% of the people because they say I can get a dumpster cheaper, then we're still gonna have to pull out of the general fund.
It's quite possible. We don't have a crystal ball. I see what you're saying. It would be better to operate on surplus. But the other side of that is we want to try to find a balance where we understand that people sometimes are really, budgets are really tight. A lot of us are. I mean, when I went to food shopping, it was like, oh my God, what the hell, you know? So we got to try to keep that number palatable as well.
Right. When I moved into town, I remember driving around and saying, there's a lot of people with dumpsters, and I looked into it. And we mathematically did it, and what we spent on trash bags at the time was within a ballpark of what a dumpster is. And some people may say, well, this fee kind of just puts me over the edge.
Right.
You know, I think, oh, I'm sorry.
No, please.
I agree with your point, but I don't think on the first year, the first go, we're going to hit zero on both sides. In other words, and regarding people opting out, I think people may opt out. And we'll have to readjust figures. It'll still be appropriated funds, but we're moving towards less and less appropriated funds. But, there's also the possibility that people may opt out and go, this isn't as cost effective as I thought. And when you look at these numbers versus numbers that I've heard, this is cost effective. So they might opt back in again. But I just don't think we're gonna hit that bullseye. But, if we hit the target the first time, this is great.
Even if we get the 487,300 and then the numbers drop and we're, I don't know, rough numbers, 460, we're still taking less money out of the general fund. So it's still a win as far as the budget's concerned.
I think the number of people that might drop out is insignificant. You're not gonna have
30% of people saying, I want a dumpster in my yard.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna have some, but I don't think it's gonna be majority.
No, I think it's a great proposal.
And I think once we have people shopping around too, like, I mean, like, I think the proof will also really be in the math as well, that once people shop around too, like, I do really think that they'll see what is actually being proposed, even with bags. Is actually gonna be far cheaper than where they'll be, with, some type of private haul container as well.
The average dumpster in, I can't say in Dayton, costs about $70 a month for a single pickup.
I'm paying 66.
Yeah, so like I said, around 7, and these numbers still work, as opposed to having a dumpster.
Hello, I have a question. And not to make it complicated. Say we go with people over 70 pay $100.
Mhm.
Then we have one person out of 5 is over 70 in the house and they opt out. I mean, they say, okay, we'll pay the 100, but we get 5 other people living in the house that are under 70 producing trash.
Like, it'll be who the property tax bill is under.
Who the property is owned by.
Yeah, that's right.
Which chances are it's gonna be the elderly person that,
Yes. Yes.
just saying, I'm not trying to throw wrench ideas.
Oh, no,
Something to take into stuff that we've discussed over the last few, that is things that we have discussed over the last few months.
Okay, I didn't get
Who would get the discount, trust funds, things like that.
You know, just to play with the numbers, if I may, regarding that $66 a month.
Yeah.
That's in the ballpark of just under $800 a year versus if you selected option 2 at $200 a year, and you threw out 2 bags at $2 a bag every week, you're just over 400. So I mean, you know, the numbers, somebody said, you know, I think you said people would shop around. I don't think they would really, that many people, to your point, would opt out. Just look at the numbers.
Myself, I have a business, so I generate a lot of trips. That's why I go with that dumpster. So.
So I just wanted to use your.
No,
numbers.
I understand what you're saying. But even, I have a real world scenario, residential to residential. We pay $40 a month in Westport for bins, which is trash every week, recycling every other week. So I'm slightly more than what the number you just came up with. And that's about the amount of trash I generate. So I think we're right there. I mean, and this isn't, you know, this is, let's try to keep the service that you're used to here. Because otherwise, I mean, the alternative is privatization.
Right.
And we don't want that.
No.
We don't want to lose Borges, so. At least I don't think we do.
No.
No. Like, and one of the things as well, like when we first began the discussion, we talked about the definition of a senior being age of 70 older, but also based on what we know from what the Board of Assessors has been working on as well. They have been working to create some alignment with having a senior for the purposes of exemptions being 65. And so it could make sense to have one overarching definition of a senior. So a senior, hypothetically for the purposes of the assessor's definition, is the same as a senior here. So we wouldn't have 2 separate definitions of a senior.
And the Board of Assessors only had 35 people take advantage of that program last year.
Right.
And it's not for lack of knowledge, I think, right, it is, well, no, it's probably somewhat lack of knowledge, but they've tried their best to get the word out, but just not happening.
The other thing I'll say, and this is maybe a word of caution, is that this is going to be entirely new. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If we have programs that are already under our wing, so to speak, with the assessors where they have qualifications to meet an exemption, I say that we follow it.
Sure.
Because if we don't, then we create a whole other logistical problem. Who's going to vet the people whether they qualify or not?
Right.
If assessors already is doing the vetting for tax purposes, then I would think we just follow suit.
However, but if we have just like a general qualification based on age alone, then they won't really have to, I mean, the vetting should be able to be done by the health department, just based off proof of, based off of proof of a property tax bill, that resident is a qualifying resident based on age. Yeah, like, I mean, and then basically that qualification happens really then and there.
But wouldn't that require the driver's license or some ID as well?
Yeah, like they would have to come into the Board of Health. And just in terms of logistics, we know that there are 1,030 households in Dayton that just we know have at least in that household, we have at least one resident who's age 65 years of age. Voter. So especially for the first time, then we can flush out the process as we further define it. But especially for the first time, that property owner is going to have to come in with some documentation to otherwise prove to the Board of Health that they qualify for the senior discount here.
Well, I don't know how my board feels, but I can tell you being the day-to-day operations manager, I can't see how we have the horsepower to deal with that. You're talking about someone who's gonna have to, first we're gonna have to come up with a program or a set of parameters, well-defined. The taxpayer is gonna have to follow those, they're gonna have to come in, it's gonna have to be vetted, it's gonna have to be put in a database. This was exactly what I didn't want to happen.
Yeah, and this is all part of really catching up, in my opinion, because the assessor's office, they have very statutory and defined things that they look for that are well beyond age. And if what we have, because this model has, and this will speak to the need of an updated proposed bylaw in a minute, but in all the communities that I've done research on who have this, they have a process for the senior discounts that are completely separate from the prescribed and statutory processes that are associated with the Board of Health and assessment departments.
Well, then we're gonna have, if that's the way you go, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna do this.
So are you thinking option one?
No, I was under the understanding that the assessor has a statutory obligation. It takes into consideration their income, et cetera, which in my opinion is a direct reflection of whether you can afford this or not. So if we get away from that, because then it's very easy, if you qualify for your exemption through the assessor's office, and you qualify for the exemption here, or the reduction, the discount. If that is gonna be thrown out, and we're gonna rely on a different process for that, then it's gonna have to be managed by the health department. I have a part-time health agent and office manager, and everybody's busy, so I just don't know how we're going to be able to handle that in a very professional manner.
Yeah, I also think there's a danger in, to your point, there's a danger in having two set of criteria to define what's a senior, who qualifies, et cetera. I think there's inherent danger and risk in that, and I think the definitions that the assessor has would be the model to use.
I agree.
Yeah, but to be clear, the only definition we'd be working off of here, like what would be aligned and have alignment is age. And that's all, yeah, because the assessors, what they have the only ability they have to do with their exemption, like is dealing with real property. So they don't have even statutorily, because they define all that and they review all that in executive session based on the requirements of the law. They only have an ability to look at real property values, like in the exemption and the abatement qualifications based on that. They don't have an ability, just by nature of what assessing is, they don't have an ability to do any other exemptions or approve any other exemptions over and above that.
Yeah, the Board of Health would have to sign the exemption.
I understand that, if they qualify for the exemption from the
Right.
assessors, but we're saying that's not on the table now.
Well,
Yeah, I thought in the meeting we said that we were gonna keep like the commitments and
Obviously,
the
it's
abatements
changed.
were gonna come from the Board of Health. We were just
But
gonna maybe go by the format, but I wasn't taking that as the assessors doing the work.
No, I agree with you.
no, we're just taking your information.
Right,
however, though, like, I mean, how, like, if we, however, though, if we would adopt that, we would, for all intents and purposes, we would only have a discount carve out based on what we know now for about 35 individuals. 35 households.
is that because people are applying for it, or because that's the only people who qualify?
If people are not applying, they
No.
drop from 37 to 35.
That exemption, correct me if I'm wrong, that also affects income?
Correct.
Okay, so if you're over 70 years old, but you don't meet the income requirement, you're not exempt. Does that mean they're not gonna be exempt from the trash?
Well, I guess
That's
that's
what
what
we're
Jim is
discussing.
proposing.
Yeah, no,
That's what we're
No,
discussing.
that,
the Board of Health has to come.
the assessors, they're looking at your income. We're looking at anybody over 70. That's the difference.
Right, so first we gotta figure out which avenue we're gonna go. It sounds like from the town administrator, the assessors is not an option, which, that's fine. That means we have to come up with our own rules
Which
or
is not gonna be easy.
exemptions, which is, right, and then we have to manage that.
You mentioned it now, but that's assuming solid waste stays with Board of Health.
We don't, we manage it very well now. I
Yeah.
don't manage an exemption process through discounts for potentially 1,000 people.
Right.
That's a different story.
Um,
I'm not saying it can't be done.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we need to think about it.
I think giving the seniors a 50% discount, which is what all the towns do around us, makes sense.
Okay, so we just have to figure out how we're gonna deal,
Right.
logistically, how we're gonna do it.
How it happens.
So what do you want their income? Just, if they're
I don't think you go off
No, if
there.
they're over 70 years old, they deserve that.
Either 70 or 65.
Well, whichever you.
Right.
It needs to be defined.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it's gonna be open for interpretation,
Oh, no.
and then
we
that's
have
gonna
to
cause problems.
come out of this group with the
Yeah.
definite definition.
And then if, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but if this goes out quarterly or semi-annually, and the Board of Health decides person A qualifies for an exemption, they got a tax bill, who exempts them from the fee?
Oh, yeah, we explain how the commitment would go from the Board of Health to, the building to the treasurers.
So if we have it on a separate, not associated with the real estate, so the real estate's gonna do their own thing, and then the Board of Health will have the billing that's gonna go out twice a year, and then they pay quarterly. So when we have that initial billing, which would initially be the 2,900 times the fee, if you go with the flat $200 fee, that will create your commitment. So that's what we're committing, that's what we're billing, that's what we're saying all of the residents will owe us. So then I would need a copy of that, and then I book it into our system. And then as the payments come through, that gets reduced. And then as the exemptions or abatements come through, I would also get that information, and then I would just offset it and reduce our commitment by what we know we're not giving. So then what's left on the books is either, basically what is owed to us at the end of the year, which will show on our balance sheet.
And then we also have to discuss what if somebody doesn't pay.
Yes, yeah, like we did, I did actually reach out to the Department of Revenue earlier, and there's a provision that actually can be, I believe, accepted by the Board of Selectmen, which is actually section 28C of the Massachusetts general laws that allow for liens specifically for solid waste fees. And talking with the Department of Revenue earlier, there's a question about exactly how to opt in, how towns opt into that I've already reached out to town council. I've already reach out to town council about, because the DOR, actually advised that we would need a town meeting article. So one of the, like, in relation to the structure of the fee in general, we would have to have a proposed warrant article, or we could have to have a proposed warrant article to accept provisions of section 28C of chapter 44 of the Massachusetts General Laws. However, based on my reading of the statute, and this is why I reached out to council, I believe based on my reading of the statute, which is also included in the packet, it does actually give the board of selectmen the ability to opt in. So that is an active question, because again, if we have a fee, we need to make sure that we have an ability to collect that fee. And whether it's through a lien or anything else, a fee's a fee, and we need to make sure we do that.
And would, I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions. And does that fee, would that be a collector?
Yes,
So if the fee was outstanding, the collector would pick it up and it would get put against the property, just like they would
Yes.
do taxes.
yes.
Okay. Now, the billing that you referred to, you said specifically Board of Health would have separate billing. So
It would just be like a separate utility bill, separate than the real estate.
on the tax bill,
No, it would be a separate billing
Separate.
twice a year.
who is going to oversee that?
So the commitment would have to come to the health department.
Yeah.
And the collection of that commitment through the bills, once the bill goes out, that goes to the treasurer collector's office.
Who generates the bills?
That would also come from the treasurer. We believe we'll be able to come once a commitment is made, Paul, the treasurer collector, has reached out to his billing entity now to make sure that he could have an ability to do that through VEDA.
Was that the $12,000 number you said earlier?
Yes,
Okay.
So we wouldn't have to do any billing ourselves.
Well, we're not quite sure 100% on that. We're
Yeah,
still working
sounds
that out with the collector.
When we get taxes, it also includes a water tax.
I believe so.
So the water district is a totally separate entity from the town. If we can collect money from them, we should be able to collect money from them.
but it's a tax. The water district also has its own fee program.
Right, fee and a tax.
Yes, but this is the fee. They're not collecting about a tax, they're collecting about a fee. And so that would be why we couldn't
All right.
include it.
I'm not saying it can't be done, I just have to figure this all out, how we're gonna do this.
Right.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's going to take a little bit of
work. Sorry?
It's not easy. It's going to take a little bit of work.
No, and that's fine, we're not afraid of work. But I've been letting the board know that this has been very involved. We really flushed this out, and that when the plan gets recommended by this body, it was gonna be well vetted.
Mhm.
And we're almost there, but I thought it would be prudent for you to hear this firsthand, because we do play a big role, we run the program, so. And it sounds to me like we're gonna have a bigger role than I thought.
Even if we hired somebody part-time, just going out on a limb, the alternative is not to, and not do anything here is.
No. And I'm not suggesting that. We have a health agent who's part-time. She loves to work. She'll work as many hours as we give her, so we can figure this all out.
Okay. And it'd only be a certain times of the year.
Right. I think the initial exemption process, though, if there are 1,000 people in here who qualify, that can be a little daunting.
Yes.
Well, again, but it would be one time only for that initial tidal wave, if you will.
Right.
You know, and then it'll be a minimal amount of people walking in year after year that are going over 70 years old.
Yeah,
But to your point, I mean, maybe somebody part-time to validate that, here's my driver's license, yes, you are 70. That'll be a tidal wave.
The only problem is, as we're discounting somebody, I'm not saying we should, if we say we're 70, discount somebody $100. But it costs us more money to be able to give them a discount. If it's gonna cost us money to give them a discount, it might not be worth giving them a discount.
It's the prudent thing to do.
is to offer the seniors a discount.
I agree, And to try to make.
So even if it cost us more, it's still worth it.
I think,
Not that it wouldn't, but I think it would still be worth it.
I think we need to find a way to still work in a senior discount, however we do it. 100%.
So I agree. I'm not against the same discount. I'm just saying we want to do it so that by giving them a discount, doesn't cost us more money.
But to that point is the people that we vet today that are over 70, unless we decide to write in that every year they have to present an ID to the Board of Health, which I think is just not worth it. We can just say, 100 Main Street was 70 on this year, they're not gonna go to 69 next year, so we don't need to check them every year. So that initial 1,000 people is not gonna be 1,000 people every year.
Unless they pass away and sell the house.
Right.
That's possible.
Which is another thing that we have to monitor.
So if they pass away and sell the house, we'd have to monitor, but we wouldn't have to worry about a 71-year-old buying it, so it would end up being somebody under the age.
Here again, we're trying to vet this as best we can. It's been my experience throughout my life, we're not going to hit this at 100%. And so let's say for the sake of argument, we hit it at 90%. That other 10%, we can see at the end of 1 year what happened, why we didn't meet this goal or that goal, and we do a fine tuning. To me, that's the best way to go about it, because we can sit here and go on month after month, and I'm not criticizing, please, but let's hit, a significant portion of this, and then step back, evaluate, again, to reiterate, what did we do well, what did we miss, what didn't we think about, and then make those corrections in year 2.
Yeah, you may never figure out your speed bumps unless you
Exactly.
set it up and set it out.
And everything's always ready to be fine tuned. I mean, we can't roll out, we can't expect to roll out with her. We can try.
We sit here all afternoon with what ifs.
Just so my mind can wrap all around this, when will those bills go up? They go with tax
When?
bills?
I think we have the ability to define that,
Yeah,
how based on the workflow, we can really define it based on workflow. Because we have to reconcile the workflow, of the Board of Health Office and also the Treasurer Collector's Office too.
Right.
If we try to do it, have like a January, have a December 1st date, hypothetically, the Treasurer's Office, I know, is going crazy then. So we wanna have a flow just like we try to structure cash flow in a way that fits in where it has an ability to fit in.
I know Chico has to leave.
Yeah. The handles open.
I think so.
Yeah, you really see.
No,
I apologize, I do have to be
Okay.
someplace at 4 o'clock. Saturday just comes always say. Can I get a motion to the meetings?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Board of Health for side of the meeting.
I second.
Aye.
Aye.
thank you very much. Thank you.
I apologize.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bill me a rate.
Thanks for your input.
Take care.
See you later.
Okay, I think we've exhausted that for now.
Number one, I had a couple more comments, especially if he's formulating what has to be done in his office. Number one, if we're going that direction, when you realize it's very hard to go back to where we are. That's probably not gonna be an option.
No,
Once when you get away from this, you're not coming back.
right.
So we may want to take a closer look at though, possibly raising the bag fee and still hitting the general as an operating to help pay for the contract itself. That's what it's come back to, what pocket are you paying for out of that scenario. On another topic though, I believe someone needs to check a missing. So when we come to the opting out option, I think we need to quantify the tonnage per year, even though we're not disposing of it.
Correct.
So if there's an opting out, we gotta capture the tonnage, and it might be that they just gotta, their vendor has to provide something at the end of the year.
Exactly.
And that could be in the permit process, move forward.
Thank you. That's what, I didn't want to get into all that, but yes, all that comes into play.
Right, and then the senior, I'm glad if we're going that direction, I gravitating towards, I'm liking the 70 and over.
Okay.
It just looking at the crew numbers we have, I mean, it's a less, it's not as tall of a tidal wave, number one.
I think that initial application,
Yes,
you know, if you go to 70, you know, there will be, well, everyone in town that's over 70, if this, with this new program, if we're going to give that discount to over 70, people over 70 are going to walk through the door.
Right.
But after that, you know, there'll be people that will turn 70, but it won't be that initial rush.
and back to the opting out is probably they're probably using a dumpster.
Right.
And so that might be even a permit process,
I agree.
but get them off town property.
Right.
And then we can do that that way.
Yeah, I was going to use this as an opportunity to deal with some of those existing problems that we've been dealing with. So the answer is yes. So I've got two comprehensive, I thought I only had one, but now I have two comprehensive things. We got to deal with the opt-out and the senior discount. And that's something we're going to have to tackle. Have to have a workshop over this.
If people opt out, I'm making the assumption that if things don't work out well for them, that they have to have the ability to opt back in.
Yes, I also have to have a procedure for that, where the fee would have to be paid in order for you to opt in. Otherwise, you're not paying for the truck to stop at your
Right.
house.
Sure.
Just in terms of, because, just to have some consensus around an age number, we do have to, because we don't, have any provision otherwise in, like in our bylaw, talking also with the Department of Revenue earlier. We'd like to, as we know, we'd like to cover our bases at the beginning. So I wanted to make sure that, because we've heard, and I've heard different things last few days, that we, based on the research too, that the treasurer collector's done. He actually mentioned some communities that he's been talking to about this, have indicated to him that we don't have the ability to do a senior discount program. So I wanted to reach out right away to the Department of Revenue about that. And so when they called me back this morning, what they mentioned is, it is very commonplace for towns to have a senior discount program. However, in order for that to be done, and you'll see that I included the text of a proposed bylaw, which we would have the ability to present to the town meeting as well. The reason and how it is possible to become commonplace is in order to do that, towns do have to have a bylaw, a bylaw or special legislation giving the Board of Selectmen the ability to do that. And so because we don't currently have one, in order to effectively roll this program out and implement it with a senior discount program, we also need to simultaneously propose a bylaw as well. And so just in working through this for discussion purposes this morning, the proposed bylaw will be called municipal fee discounts for residents for seniors, veterans with a service-connected disability and blind. Just because we want to kind of generally follow what we have as abatements, what we have for abatements provisions, but it would be an overarching bylaw, not completely specific to the solid waste fee. But just for discussion purposes, I could say the Board of Selectmen shall have the ability upon request of a municipal board officer in accordance with the provisions of section 22F of chapter 40 of MGL to ratify should be to review and approve municipal fees and or other charges that provide for discounts to residents who are age 65 years, either or based on discussion here, based on who are those ages or of age or older, veterans with a service-connected disability or blind. Those generally, which will allow us to, if we have the ability to explore like anything with fees in the future as well, that would just give the board, the ability, through with our fee structure, the ability to follow largely the categories that are allowed through assessing exemptions as well.
I would make a suggestion.
Yes,
The veterans with service-connected disability,
yes,
as validated by the Veterans Administration.
thank you.
I have two questions, but just to expand upon that one, does that comply or conflict with the current language or proposed language about veterans discounts that we have on the table right now? Or does it matter?
I don't know, currently in order, that's the reason I suggested that put in there, because we have, every year at town meeting, we have to validate or approve that discount. The way that, the collector, when you first apply, goes in and you have to present from the Veterans Administration documentation that shows disability and the percentage of disability. After that, that stays on the books, but every year you receive your little notice that says, update it. So point being, to opt into the program, the Veterans Administration has to say, this is who you are, this is the percentage of disability.
So that answers the first question. The second question is, there's another bylaw that I'm told that's going in front of the townspeople for an additional discount for veterans, correct? Does that have the same nomenclature in it? Is that different?
That actually has exactly the same. I checked with the assessing office. Yeah, also too, that one article update would update the exemption on the assessing. And wouldn't would be different from the discount.
Okay.
However, we would, to your point, Jim, we want to have alignment in how that is,
Yeah, I like bylaws to sound like.
oh, no, I agree. We wanted to have alignment there. That's why I reached out to the assessor.
Okay, thank you. So that would mean if this were on the warrant and it were in the affirmative by the townspeople, any town fee could be subject to this? Or would it be only those designated by the selectmen?
It would be just, so how this would be basically any board official that the Board of the Selectmen have appointing authority over.
Okay,
Would be able to propose to the Board of Selectmen,
but they still have to vote on that.
yes,
Okay.
yes, a fee structure that had a discount.
Gotcha. So if this were to all materialize, the Board of Health would make a recommendation to the selectmen to implement said discount. That would have to be ratified or voted upon by the selectmen, then it would go into effect.
Yes, but to be clear, I think just in cost, and because we, yes, in terms of fees that are being proposed in the future, yes. But I also think it would be very helpful as well in the short term to if the Board of Health were to actually make a recommendation in terms of a pathway here that could reinforce the direction to be able to deal with a FY25 budget and planning for town meeting, and also to be able to as a way to rationalize the bylaw, propose how the board would want to approach, assuming that we could have a bylaw approved like this, how the Board of Health would want to proceed along those lines, if that makes sense.
It does. I would like there to be a decision by this body to make a recommendation to the Board of Health.
Don't
That then could
disagree.
be on a future agenda that I could propose, bring up at the meeting and then hopefully discussion and voted upon. Present, that was the word I was looking for, present at the meeting. I think we still gotta make sure we know what we want before we do that. But thank you. Or what we're proposing. Tom, that was great input, thank you.
Your office of mine.
It's gonna have to be my office.
Yeah, it's not.
It's gonna have to be my office. We'll figure it out. You like to work, Heather, right?
You want to vote on the proposal?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, well, like in terms of option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Just so we have an ability to jump out of the gate with a proposed structure. That also helps to inform the bylaw proposal as well.
Okay.
I'm not making a motion, but I tend to like option 2.
Me too.
So, yeah, I can make the motion because there's still work to be done.
Right.
For option 2, pending the language that's needed for the bylaw and what Jim can come up with, a recommendation on how the mechanics will work. But we need, we all, not just your office, needs to understand how it's going to be perceived.
Absolutely.
Because this is a big step. Once we need to take it, we're not going backwards.
No, I agree.
Well, I agree with option 2. Everyone is going to get billed 200, and it's a 50% discount for the senior citizens. In addition to, it does bring in the most revenue.
Tom, was that a motion?
I made a motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna aye too.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work, everyone, on this. This was a monumental task.
We're really just beginning.
Oh, yeah. Okay, moving on to old business. Proposed updates for transfer station operation.
Yeah, I think then we included this to bring the members of the board health up to speed on kind of where we've been and looking at the transfer station updates as well, I believe.
Yes, Paul asked me these questions before he left, so he's not in the dark. I don't know, Tom, this is your baby. Do you wanna just give Patrick a little bit of an update as to why you landed here?
Yeah, I'll try to do a quick one and with how we come to where we are, and also there's one more tidbit on this. So everyone has this document?
Yes.
That's the first, yeah, current transfer station. So we eliminated the year, just to say the year and the current transfer station. We'll still maintain the revised on the bottom left, so we can make sure we're all using different offices and committees and websites. There's multiple ways to get this information, so we gotta make sure we're on the most current one. So that revised date is very important on the bottom. So we're eliminating the date in the top, changing the phone numbers as you see them. The Dayton residential only, use only, still feels a little weak to me, but that's the best way to put it at this point, unless there's another way to spell it out.
You can write it in blood.
So moving down, we're proposing a $30 sticker now, and just to bring you up to date on that, how we got to that. If we take the attendance salary for the year, divided by how many stickers we've been selling for the last few years, it comes out to 20 and change. So charge the 30. The day pass, we're proposing to keep it at 15. It took a little bit of digging today. We are out of the day passes. We have one here. The 3 selectmen that are on the bottom, Dean, Patrick, and Tom. That's all it is. There's no date on it. But most of that information is there, and the rules and regulations are there that need to be tweaked a little bit. But if Peter will correct me if I'm wrong, I can change the verbiage on that and the letterhead. I don't believe it has to be the Then Board of Health, at that time was Board of Health.
Right,
It's the monetary part that needs a vote from everyone.
okay,
Unless someone has a problem with that. So we're gonna clean that up a little bit and still use the day pass. This one specific, 1 truck load per day pass. I thought it was that day, that truck can come multiple times to help somebody else. But that's pretty clear. That might be, if you guys want to weigh in on that today, that might be something.
that makes a lot of sense.
What type of truck load?
Pick up 1 cubic yard only.
Yeah, but what's in the pickup? Like,
Oh, you be charged accordingly. This is just to give you. This is just to give you permission to come in,
Okay, yep.
and that's where we are in the price list, the day pass. I'm sorry.
So I have two things I want to clarify. So that pass would allow the same truck to come multiple times on the day?
No, that's what I thought it was. This is pretty clear. It's 1 truck load per day of that pass. So if you want to come another time, you need another pass.
Okay. All right, and then the second two things I have, just for edification and clarification, we're going to run the sale of the stickers with the fiscal year starting July 1, correct?
Correct.
So it'll be $30 from July 1 through June 30 of the following year.
And we know who already has a sticker, so we can assess them the additional
So what was
15.
discussed, Patrick, was if people already have a sticker for $15, their sticker will expire on June 30th, even though technically it was good till December 30th. But that can be redeemed as $15 towards your new $30 sticker. So we're still all clear on that, right? Okay, good.
Right underneath that, unauthorized use, $1,000 fine. So if someone's intentionally using our transfer station, not taking trash, for example, we have the mechanism for the $1,000 fine. And that's also with the day pass, it's language in there. If we can prove the trash does not come from the town. Unacceptable waste, I looked at that, that looks to be current. I don't think we're missing anything.
Can we just talk about paints for a second? We never went with a latex, correct? Where people could bring in latex paint, pour it into the bucket. Okay,
Because it's not hazardous waste, you're supposed to dry it out, throw it out.
okay,
And a part of our education, hopefully the Board of Health is working on, one of the things it could be is educating people before you buy, know how you get rid of it. And also when you buy paints, you buy what you need, not 5 extra gallons.
Well, have you seen how much it costs today? $70 a gallon.
So the next section down, all that, next section down, when you get to the fees, what's in red is the price change. Air conditioners and refrigerators reflect the changes, reflecting a Freon disposal charge. And we added the Bridget Classic, because if you look down to the next section, we're gonna eliminate trailer load fees and bulky item, trailer load fees and truckload fees. And the Bridget Classic was included with that. So it makes sense, there's kid toys out there to have that as an item for disposal. So those trailers can still come in, truckloads can still come in, but you're gonna be charged per item on those loads. And we really need to get going on advertising that this changed by July 1st. It might be an influx, but this could be a significant change for a lot of people.
Just from a procedural perspective, if this body approves this today, do I have to have the board approve it, or we can just?
No, I think because we separated out this from the Board of Health.
I agree, I just wanted, but the board of health will certainly bring it up at our meetings, so that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay,
And the yard waste will remain the same, textile books will remain the same, you use a transfer station. You would need the transfer station sticker along with this day pass too for your disposals and to use in those textiles and books. And on the bottom, big bold letters, prices are subject to change without notice. That could be useful also, so we can avoid the little quagmire like we have with a sticker and whatnot. We don't know what the future brings.
there'll be a new revision date if we did that, right?
Yes. The market could affect those prices per item.
Right.
Says what Mike, Jim was hitting on. Any questions?
No, as I said last time, thanks for your hard work on this, Tom.
So the day pass, does anyone want to see it? The only one I have is my electronic one. So it was from when the Board of Health used to be combination of selectmen, that's the last time this thing was edited. And I don't believe, I don't think it needs to go through that office, the day pass. I think you can take care of it that day. They just gotta prove that they're a resident and then, you know, the truck is being used just for that one load.
How do they prove they're a resident? Does that need to be in there too? You know, proof of residency by driver's license, by tax bill, by
Right now, they're using registrations and whatnot.
registration?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could be a bill, keep a bill, yeah. So you think the language should be on that, on the day pass in particular, or both?
I think we should put some language in there that says, you know, a vehicle registration, for instance, or a tax bill.
Proof of residence?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't, we voted on this last meeting, I believe. So what's our next steps, this Wednesday night, or
Yes, we're gonna add it to the agenda.
Yes,
do I need to be there
please.
with the proposal?
Well, as long as we have this in electronic version, we can add that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But if you're there right at the beginning of the meeting, we can have you on as an appointment, so you don't have to ring around, Tom. And,
Do you feel the day pass should be part of that packet, but you were just referring to the day pass?
but the day pass, here, like, as long as we have this, I think we'll be fine.
I think so.
Yeah,
It's just everything, we'll clean this up without
yeah,
that.
yes, yep.
We want to know who they are, make sure the rules are applicable. We'll get rid of that.
Yeah, no, there's no reason for that, in my opinion. As long as it's approved, this can speak for itself.
And I'll have to work with the Board of Health on our websites when I get the word out. It'll be July 1st.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was, so once the selectmen approve it Wednesday, just send us a copy and we'll post it and we'll put it added to our agenda.
Sure. Our office people need to be educated because phone calls after the selectmen's meeting will start coming in.
Like, we can do kind of like a blitz on, pointing a blitz on the website, social media, all at the same time.
Just a suggestion, if prices are subject to change without notice, should the revised date be the actual date it was approved?
Yes, that'll all be part of it, you know.
Okay.
So it'll be Wednesday night's date pending the vote, obviously.
Yeah, like, and just. I'm sorry,
I'll say, but it's gonna be effective July 1st.
yes.
That's up to the board of selectmen.
Yeah, that's a good point. It would be July 1st, but,
So like, I mean, that's what we've been talking about all along.
So,
correct, we can't.
so you're not gonna change these fees and you're not gonna stop the truckloads until July 1st?
We discussed that at the last meeting,
We did.
saying that
It's immediate.
it was just gonna be minimal that we would lose, so we wouldn't do it until July 1st.
Oh, really? How about the truckloads though? I thought the truckloads was something we were stopping immediately.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's gonna take that's a big creature habit change.
I thought that.
You're gonna need this time to educate them.
Okay, whatever the will of the people is, I'm fine.
Well, this is not gonna be a favorable thing. The thought of losing the ability to get rid of truckloads when they probably shouldn't be going there anyways. And again, I went there today, a lot of the stuff could have went in bags that are in there was roll-ups.
Oh, sorry. There's other places they can go to.
The, this line in red, prices are subject to change without notice, like by nature of what we've been doing and the fact that we need fees to be approved, is that price is subject to a change without notice? I mean, if we have this process and then we go to the board of selectmen process for approval,
There's notice,
that is notice. So do we need that in the first place?
just prices subject to change.
Yeah.
This,
Just strike without notice.
now, however you want to say it, the process will still remain.
Right.
Yeah,
If
just,
the market says toilets are gonna be $300 now to get rid of, I think you want to change that really quick.
no, like, I mean, like, we'd have to, just like we've adapted, as well, but we can't just change it arbitrarily though.
It would still require a vote.
Right,
Correct.
they could do an emergency meeting for that drastic. but-
Yeah, and in that meeting or whenever you have the vote, you can cite the conditions that have caused that
Oh, sure.
change, you know, for instance, back to your, well, toilets, now to dispose of toilets, it's $300, therefore we have to charge.
Right.
So I mean, I think that can be cited during the vote.
Sure.
Probably don't use toilets Wednesday night.
No. Okay.
On that,
Then we'll move on to Mr. Perry, analyze completed, analyst completed by Mr. Perry regarding the 5-year cost revenue.
I mean, I think we, didn't we sort of do that last time?
We did.
yeah, we included it as a way to bring, your members of the Board of Health
Yeah,
up.
I think, Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'll ask is if you have any questions.
Yeah, do you have any?
No, okay.
Oh, I had to explain it to him that he.
Again, just 2019, 2023. Aligned numbers.
Yeah, because of the recommendation.
A, B, and projection, and you can see the conditions. You know, that we made. Got those numbers.
Just really quick, we did, I want to pull up my packet. I did include in everyone's packet, and it might be too soon, and if it is, please just say so. But I did include a proposed draft meeting minutes for November 14th, for December 12th, and for April 1st. And like again, you know, like, oh yeah, like, we just actually like sent them out and added them earlier, so if we want to wait and have everyone have the ability to go through them.
I would like to read them over. And,
Yeah.
you know, be prepared to, you know, address that. All right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, no public input? Obviously, no minutes, we're gonna wait on to a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second, any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Everybody is opposed, so motion passed.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
You guys have another meeting.
Yeah.
All right.